Will Smith starts in the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. Now, The Pursuit of Happiness, in retrospect, is a movie about a father and his son going through the journey of life and just trying to get by. The problem is Will Smith can't provide for his son. He doesn't have money, he doesn't have a house, he doesn't have a job. So, Will Smith learns that he's going to have to be really diligent and he's going to have to work really hard to be able to provide for his family. And he goes out there and he does whatever he can to make sure that his son is going to have a great life and a normal life, just like every other kid's going to have the chance to do. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "That which we persist in doing becomes easier, not that the task itself becomes easier, but that our ability to perform it has improved." In other words, I think it means that persistence leads to success, and I agree with that. Because if you are persistent, persistence takes hard work. And also, persistence overcomes adversity. To show how persistence is hard work, I'd like to give the example of Josh Hamilton. Josh Hamilton is a player who had everything against him. He was up against drugs, he was up against alcohol, and his addictive personality did not allow him to be the best baseball player that he could be. Coming into the majors, he was one of the top prospects, along with Carl Crawford on the Tampa Bay Rays. And after his first couple of years, he just couldn't handle it anymore. His addictive personality took over, and he couldn't control himself. And so Josh Hamilton, he had to be persistent. He had to work really hard not to let the drugs and the alcohol overcome him and let them become a big part of his life that they were at one point. And you know what? That persistence that he had, it led him to success. Because he's still playing for the Angels right now in the playoffs. In the movie Shawshank Redemption, we see how a man can get evicted incorrectly, and he got tossed into jail for murder that he did not attempt to do, or did he commit. Now this man, while he's in jail, instead of just sitting there and waiting out his life sentence that he has, he decides he's not only going to find a way out, but he's also going to enjoy himself while he's there. And so he decides that one day he just throws a rock up against the wall, and it so happens that the rock puts a little hole in the wall, a little nick. He goes over to the wall and realizes that in the wall is very thin material, very rocky, very thin substance he can cut through. And so he decides he's going to order a little rock cutting tool. And with that tool, over the course of 20 years, he digs a tunnel all the way through the wall that leads out of the prison. And so after 20 years inside the prison, he decides one day it's about time. And so he escapes prison. Now, knowing that he has never done anything wrong, he said, why not? There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to. And so he runs away to an island, and he enjoys the rest of his life on an island working on a boat. The man in Shawshank Redemption was persistent. He knew he didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't care because he worked really hard at what he did and what he wanted to accomplish, and he became successful. So to show how persistence leads to success, we've seen that it takes hard work, but it will give you success. We also see that having persistence, he'll help you overcome adversity. Martin Luther King Jr. is a great example of overcoming adversity because, as we all know, Martin Luther King Jr. was the leader of the Civil Rights Movement. Now, Martin Luther King did not realize the task that was at hand as it was put upon him. I think he understood the concept, but I didn't think he understood that he was going to be thrown in jail and he was going to be beaten to death, and that people were going to lose their lives over this great civil, societal problem. But Martin Luther King decided that if we're going to do this, we're going to do it to the best of our abilities. And because of that, the persistence that they used to overcome the civil rights and get equal rights between blacks and whites, they overcame adversity. And they ended up being able to become equal, blacks and whites all over, across the board. Another great example of how persistence overcomes adversity is the Oakland Athletics. The Oakland Athletics have always been a team that nobody really looked for. They were not on the radar. It was nothing special. They're just a team that just happened to be in one of the 30 teams in the MLB, and they were there in the game just for someone else to go get a win every single night. But in the past couple of years, they've been developing faster and stronger than anyone else has. And recently, they just made it to the playoffs. Now, although last night they did lose to the Kansas City Royals in the playoffs, they made it there. And the fact that they were persistent enough and put enough hard work in, and that they overcame the adversity of being one of the last place teams, just shows that persistence can lead to success. So to go back what Ralph Waldo Emerson was saying, That which we persist in does become easier, not that the task itself becomes easier, but that our ability to perform it has improved. Persistence leads to success. Josh Hamilton, he was persistent to get over his drug addiction problem, and he became successful. Martin Luther King Jr., he was persistent to get rid of to endure the civil rights movement and to get equal rights for blacks and whites. In the pursuit of happiness, Will Smith goes out and he gets a job, and he provides for his son. And he's persistent enough to be successful in life and to provide everything he can to be the best dad he can and to give his son the best life he possibly can.